Hey, mamas, it's your girl Carrie, and welcome back to another episode of Mom Wife Career Life. Today, we're getting a little deep again. I touched on it a few weeks ago when I talked about the lessons I've learned from loss. And I think this topic is something that really definitely comes up for a lot of people when you go through tough moments. You start to just realize how short and how precious life really is. And suddenly, all the things that used to feel so big, the drama, the grudges, the he said, she did, they just don't seem worth the space they take up anymore. And I think that's why the holidays can sometimes just feel a lot heavier for so many of us. It's not just the busy schedules or the pressure to make everything perfect. It's the emotional weight that we carry, that anger we've tucked away, the resentment that still lingers, or the sadness that sneaks up when we least expect it. But imagine if this year, instead of carrying those feelings through the season, you allow yourself to release them. Imagine walking into the holiday a little lighter, maybe even opening your heart to reconnect to someone you've been missing, and you could still do all that while holding healthy boundaries and protecting your peace. Forgiveness, it doesn't mean letting someone hurt you again. It means creating space to feel free, to feel calm, and to just feel happier again. And as we inch closer to the holidays, I think it's a perfect time to talk about this because this is the season for reflection, of giving grace, of letting go. And the holidays have a way of bringing up all sorts of emotions for people. Hopefully, happiness, a lot of nostalgia with traditions and just family memories, and sometimes even that little bit of heartache. But they also give us the opportunity to clear out what's been so heavy, to choose peace over pride and forgiveness over being frustrated. So today, we're talking about how to forgive, especially when the person who hurt you might not even be sorry, because forgiveness isn't about them. As Maya Angelou said in our quote from yesterday, forgiveness isn't something that we do for others. We do it for ourselves to get well and to move on. So today, we're talking about how to forgive, especially when the person who hurt you might not even be sorry or might not even be with us anymore. Because forgiveness isn't about them, it's about freeing you. And speaking of freeing yourself, if you're ready to release some of that holiday stress too, I've got you covered. I want you to grab my Christmas Planning Made Simple guide. It's your step by step roadmap to create a calm, joy filled season instead of a chaotic one. And inside, you're going to find trackers to help you stay on top of your budget, your gift list. There's planning pages, an activity bucket list, and a calendar to help you stay organized, intentional, and really just actually enjoy this holiday. So I got you covered for the holidays, mamas. Make sure you check out the show notes. Now let's jump into today's episode. Are you feeling overwhelmed trying to juggle all the many hats you wear as a working mom? Do you want more quality time with your family without distraction of work and time alone to take care of yourself and your needs? Welcome to Mom Wife Career Life. I'm Carrie, a wife, mom of 3, and a recovering perfectionist. In this podcast, I will teach you how to create balance in your life by implementing healthy habits, organizing your home and your schedule, being intentional with your time and in your relationships, and most importantly, how to start putting your needs first because no one can pour from an empty cup. Grab that second cup of coffee, or if you're anything like me, your third. It's time to dive into today's episode of Mom Wife Career Life. Today, we're talking about forgiveness, but we're not talking about the easy kind of forgiveness, the kind that comes up after someone says, I'm sorry, and everything feels all wrapped up in a nice, neat little bow. We're going deeper than that. We're talking about the real kind of forgiveness, the kind that doesn't always come with closure, the kind that requires you to do the healing, even when the other person doesn't think that they were wrong, when they're no longer in your life, when they've passed away, or even when the person who hurt you was you. Because the truth is, forgiveness isn't about letting someone off the hook. It's about setting yourself free. So if you've been carrying that emotional baggage, the anger, the resentment, or that ache that just lingers in the background, especially around the holidays, I really hope that today's episode feels like that permission slip to finally put it down, to stop letting someone else's actions take up space in your heart and finally choose peace over that pain. So let's start with the biggest misconception about forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about or for the other person. It's for you. You can forgive someone and still have boundaries. You can forgive someone and still choose to not let them back in your life. You can forgive someone and never, ever have heard them say the words I'm sorry. Because here's the thing, your body, your mind, your spirit, they're all holding onto that negative energy. And unresolved resentment, bitterness, and anger, it doesn't just float around aimlessly. It sits in your nervous system. It clouds your thoughts, it leaks into your relationships, sometimes your dreams, and it affects your overall happiness. And forgiveness, that's how we begin to clear it all out. And it's not a one time thing, it's a choice that we have to make over and over again to release the weight that we were never meant to carry. And I want to be real. Some people just don't see the hurt that they've caused, or maybe they do, but their pride and their ego won't let them admit it. And then they're the ones who genuinely lack the self awareness to even recognize their behavior. You could try to point it out gently or not so gently, but they still can't, or they just won't see it. And part of learning to forgive without an apology is understanding that sometimes people's actions come from a place of pain or trauma that they haven't healed from. Their behavior is often more about what's broken inside of them than anything about you. Now, don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that you have to be okay with what they did. Forgiveness is not about giving someone a pass. It's about being able to step back, seeing the situation from a wider lens, and then choosing to release yourself from all the weight of it. When you can look at someone's hurtful actions and think, wow, that must have come from a deep wound, it often helps you soften that anger and really just shift your internal energy. And when that shift happens, when you stop feeding into your own anger, you can really start channeling that energy into prayer or compassion instead. And I do this all the time. Like when someone cuts me off on the highway, although full disclosure, I might call them a little something first, or that grumpy person ahead of you in the checkout line. Instead of getting annoyed at them, I stop and I say a little prayer that I hope whatever is making their day so crappy or setting them off right now gets better. And a side note, if it is someone in the checkout line and they're grumpy to the cashier, I make it a point to say something nice to the cashier when it's my turn to hopefully let them just reset and brush off that negative experience. And that's what forgiveness really is. It's a heart's reset. It's choosing over that negative energy because that's what anger and resentment ends up being in your body. And you forgive not because they've earned it, but because you deserve it. You need to stop making your healing dependent on other people's awareness. You need to stop waiting for closure that may never come. You need to say, I release the power you have over me. You say, I get to choose to let go of the story. Because forgiveness doesn't mean the hurt didn't matter. It means that you matter more. Now, let's talk about how to forgive someone that is no longer with us. And yes, we're going there because sometimes the person we need to forgive isn't sitting across from us anymore. They're gone. And maybe it's a parent, a friend, or someone who's supposed to love you better than they did. And that kind of forgiveness, that's a completely different kind of heavy because there's no conversation waiting to happen, no apology, no closure. And without that closure, those feelings, they don't go away and they pop up when you least expect them. And this one comes from personal experience for me. And I'm going to be able to get through this without crying because I've done so much healing doing exactly what I'm talking about today. But I had a falling out with my dad. I'm not going to get into the details on this podcast, but he hurt me kind of deeply. And for a long time, it was a lot healthier for us not to talk. I didn't hate him, but I was really hurt. But a few days before he passed away, he was in hospice and I was able to go and spend the day with him. And as I was sitting there in that moment, I knew that I wanted him to leave this world knowing that I still loved him. And when he passed, I wasn't just heartbroken. I was also so angry. I was angry that he robbed me of a relationship that we could have had. I was angry because he missed out on watching my kids grow up. I was angry that so many moments that should have happened would never happen. And it took a lot of self-work, a lot of prayer, a lot of doing exactly what I'm sharing with you today to finally release that pain, to get to a place where I could say from the bottom of my heart that I forgive him, even though I've never heard the words I'm sorry. And it's weird, but it's really made me so much closer to him. And honestly, it's what strengthened my spirituality and my relationship with God. And it took him passing away and all this healing for me to get there. And now I can honestly say that there's zero resentment left. None. Just peace. And I know he's at peace too. And he shows me signs all the time, especially this time of year, the little things that remind me that he's still around and he's still with me. A song, a smell, a number that pops up at just the right moment. And I talk to him often. And every time I think of him, I smile. I no longer get sad. I no longer get angry. I just don't have those feelings inside me anymore. And that's how I know forgiveness works. It doesn't erase the story, It just rewrites how it lives inside of you. So if you're carrying pain from someone who's no longer here, hear me when I say this. You can still forgive them. You can still let go. You could still find that peace. You can say that you hurt me and I've carried that pain for too long, but today I'm letting go. I forgive you. I bless you. I release you. Because forgiveness isn't about where they are, it's about where you want to go next. It's about clearing that heaviness that's been weighing you down so that you could finally feel light again. And maybe, just maybe, on some level beyond what any of us can understand, they can feel it too. Another scenario that is really tough and I hear all the time is forgiving the friend you had to walk away from. And that's a totally different kind of heartbreak. Friendship breakups, they can hurt just as much as losing a loved one because it kind of is like losing a loved one, especially when you're the one who had to draw that boundary. Maybe you said enough is enough and they didn't understand. Maybe they made you feel like you were overreacting or worse, like you were the villain. Maybe they turned mutual friends against you, or maybe you see them out in public and they pretend like you never existed. And even when you know you did the right thing, it still can hurt because you didn't stop caring. You just stopped trying to make it work at the expense of your peace. And you're allowed to grieve that friendship. You're allowed to miss them and still know that you made the right choice. You're allowed to love who they were to you while still acknowledging that they are no longer what fits where you're going or the season of life you're in. And forgiveness here doesn't always come with that text or that talk or the I'm sorry. Sometimes forgiveness is something you have to do on your own because it's what your heart and your energy needs to be able for you to truly move forward. So try to focus on what their friendship meant in your life. Maybe they introduce you to a friend that you still talk to now, or a band that you love to go see in concert, or a restaurant that has now become your favorite spot. Or maybe they just taught you what you value in a friend and where you need to have better boundaries. Whatever it is, figure it out and then say to yourself, thank you for what you brought into my life. Thank you for the lesson. I release the rest. That is forgiveness in motion. It doesn't mean you go back. It means you move forward. It's choosing peace over proving your point. It's letting your heart just breathe again. It's giving yourself permission to stop replaying what went wrong and start remembering what you learned. Why did God bring them into your life? What was the lesson? Because here's the truth. Some people are in your life for a reason, some for a season, and some for the lessons that shape you into who you're becoming. So focus on the lesson and the reason. The next big one is probably the hardest one of all. Forgiving past versions of yourself. And this is another one that hits very close to home for me because it's one thing to forgive others, but forgiving yourself, that's a whole different kind of work. I'm talking about forgiving the mom who lost her patience and yelled, the woman who stayed too long in the wrong job or the wrong relationship because she didn't know how to leave, the girl who didn't speak up when she needed to, the version of you who didn't know what you know now. She doesn't need your shame. She needs your grace. And it's not just about the recent versions of you. It's all of you. It's the kid who made choices out of fear or confusion, the teenager who followed the crowd because she didn't want to stand out, the young woman who ignored red flags or played small or said yes when her gut screamed no. We all have those moments, those cringe memories, the why did I do that choices, the regrets we play in our mind like a broken record. I know I do. There are things I held on to for way too long, things that kept me stuck in guilt instead of growing in grace. But here's the truth. You're allowed to grow. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to forgive who you were so that you can become who you're meant to be. And these are the mantras you need to say to yourself if you struggle with this one. I forgive myself for not knowing better. I thank that version of me for surviving. She was doing the best she could with the tools she had because every version of you brought you here to this exact moment. She doesn't need to be erased. She needs to be honored. She needs to be appreciated and lovingly released. So instead of holding on to that guilt, reflect on what that moment came to teach you and then channel that energy into becoming a better, stronger, softer version of yourself, one that leads with grace, compassion, and faith. And we're going a little deeper with this because why not go all the way today? Sometimes it's not just people we need to forgive. It's the pieces of life itself, the things that didn't go the way we thought they would, the expectations that never quite became a reality, the dreams that somehow took a detour. So here are a few things that you might be holding on to that you don't realize it, that I really want you to work on releasing this holiday season and before you start the new year, so that way you can start fresh with such a weight lifted off of you. Forgiving life for not going as planned, for the job you didn't get, the path that didn't unfold the way you hoped, or timing that felt unfair, and forgiving yourself for even feeling this way when you have so much to be thankful for. I am raising my hand with this one. I've struggled with this the past 2 years. Maybe forgiving the manager who passed you over, or the career that took way more from you than it gave. Forgiving your body for changing and aging and not bouncing back or getting sick, for not looking the way it should, for all the times you've looked in the mirror and thought, why can't I just get it together? This is another one I know all too well, but remind yourself that your body has carried you through everything to this point. And if you're a mom, it gave you beautiful babies. It deserves love, not punishment. And I'm saying this to myself too. Maybe it's forgiving your parents for what they couldn't give you, whether that was emotional security, guidance, or the kind of love that you're now pouring into your own kids. Maybe it's forgiving friends who drifted away, family who disappointed you, or yourself for letting people stay longer than they should have. Maybe it's forgiving the world for being so dang hard sometimes, for the chaos, the noise, the unfairness, and the way it can make you feel like you're constantly running uphill. And yes, maybe even it's forgiving God if you've ever felt let down in your faith. I've been there too. If you've ever thought, why me or why now? Know this. He can handle your honesty. He'd rather have your realness than your silence. And when you start opening up, that is when the healing can really begin. And I'm speaking from experience here too, mamas. These aren't easy, but they're all necessary, because when you start this work, really start it, something shifts. Your heart feels lighter, your mind feels clearer. Honestly, that's what led me on my path to find my purpose. When I was able to release all that negative energy, all that anger and pain inside of me, and really just heal, God showed me my path. And forgiveness, it's not about pretending the pain didn't happen. It's about loosening the grip it has on you. So take a deep breath and think about who or even what you still need to let go of, and start there, one small release at a time. And I want to end with something that you can actually do this week. It's what I call a bless and release ritual. And it's what really helps give you that closure that you might be missing. It's not necessary, but I'd love for you to try it. It can be so freeing. And here's what you do. You take out a piece of paper and make a list of everything and everyone you want to forgive. Then for each one, you're going to write down what you're forgiving them for. And then you're going to write a blessing. You can even write down a lesson or whatever benefit they brought to your life. Or if you don't want to do that, you could just write, I bless you and release you. I want you to fold it up. And then I want you to burn it, shred it, or just even throw it away. You want it out of your life because you don't want to read it again. You just want it thrown out and gone. And honestly, you can do this at the end of the year too, with all the things that you want to release from 2025. It might not necessarily have to do anything with forgiveness, just anything negative that you want to write down, bless and release, and start the new year with nice, positive energy. I totally recommend trying it. But let's get back to forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending something didn't hurt. It means choosing to stop carrying the pain that's not helping you anymore. You deserve to be free. You deserve a life with more happiness, and it starts with letting go. And if this episode helped you, I would love for you to share it with a friend who might need to hear it too. And if you don't already follow the show, take a second and hit that follow button so you never miss another episode. Sending you so much love and light until next time on Mom Wife Career Life with Carrie Pat. Before you go, if you found this podcast helpful, I would be so grateful if you would take a minute, go on over to iTunes and leave me a review. If you have other stressed out mamas in your life that you feel this podcast could help, take a screenshot of this episode, post it on your Instagram stories and tag me, and let them know that they are not alone and they can create balance in their life too. If there's a topic you'd like me to cover or you just want to connect, DM me on Instagram at mom.wife.career.life. Or come on over and hang out in our free Facebook community, Work-Life Balance for Working Moms. Sending you so much love and light until next time on Mom Wife Career Life with Carrie Pat.